Good day, YouTubers. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from all around the world. We received a shipment all the way from Spain. Artesia Latina. Got the light kit for the SOLEIL ROYAL. And we also got the shaping tools for scraping boards to create a profile on the board. So there's several different profiles to choose from. And this light kit that's the battery box and the switch and some of the wires that'll probably feed the groups of LEDs in different locations. And this is another battery box with a switch. Assuming, yeah, it'll be for a button cell. And that could feed them also. And it's nice they give us the option to bigger batteries to last longer. Mufasa over there digging in the floor again. Some red wire. Some black wire because you got polarity. Some solder. And some LEDs. Looks like there's 4 in there. A whole bunch in there. So that's going to be a little challenge. And this shaping tool just need something to poke that out of there. I don't want to bend it. Very nice. And then they also sent me a catalog for their models. And guess who is on the front cover of their catalog? The SOLEIL ROYAL. They must be pretty proud of that one. You can start out simple or you can start out hard. HMS Endeavor. 3,000 pictures, so that tells me this one has been re-engineered like the SOLEIL ROYAL. Gives you much more documentation. Of course, you're building something like this complicated, you need to have that extra help documentation. the Vasa. That one looks like it's been pre-engineered also. The new line of models that Artesia Latina is putting out. And then the one we're building, Soleil Royal. Soil. I saw on YouTube, Tom's Modeling, I think that's his name. He does stop animation of his builds. So it's a whole bunch of work in 15 or 20 minutes, but it's really cool the way he films it. The stop animation is a very unique way to do it. Paints, tools, and that would help when you're doing your rat lines. You get them in the right spot. You don't think you're tying knots when you do that, though, does it? They just glue them on there. There's the shaping tools that we bought. And we only bought one of them. The one I thought was the right profile. 27-300. So that first one there's two other profiles that you can get. Little tool organizers. Looks like a base to work from when you're building your ship. Fits different sizes. There's the light kit we got with the LEDs. Lots of cool stuff here to help you build. Clamps and tweezers, bending tools, and parts. So if you run out or you don't like what they give you, you can order something different. Pretty much everything that is in the model except for the laser cut plywood. Lumber. And I must say, in the process of building this one so far, I have found that this lumber is top quality. The way they produced it, what I've been using. Mufasa down there digging. Is what I've been using just yesterday. Putting planking boards on that deck plate. I noticed when I got these 4mm by 0.5mm pieces out, that every stinking one of them was like perfect. There's no warp in them, there's no fuzzy edges, everything looks great. So this one I gotta mark up with the pencil and trim off. When I got the other one done yesterday, that's half of one side. This is the one I finished yesterday. And after putting this in place, it's just temporarily stuck in there. I noticed why they don't want us to glue these cross frames to the I had to break that one loose because we had glued that first, one of the first steps we did. You can see how that one came out after putting the planking on there and gluing the planking down. And then taking the pencil, number 2 pencil, and then engineering pencil to do the nail heads and the separation in the boards. This one's already been varnished and finished. I got to do the other half this side, but this first half came out pretty good, and I want to come over here and stick it on the ship and see how everything fits. And I had to cut this one loose because it was glued in the wrong spot, so keep that in mind when you're building your framework, that don't glue these side pieces until you get all your decking done. And then the other thing we did yesterday was finish this framing work and bulkheads and everything on the back of the ship. So just like the front there, we didn't glue on these pieces. So when we go to put those deck boards in there, we'll be able to adjust this to fit. And hopefully it fits in between here and here, because this isn't glued on to the end piece, so it gives me a little play, I guess. But the front part is glued on, and it told us to in the directions, so hopefully that'll work out. But we did make good progress yesterday. Getting that back in, all roughed in. I had clamps everywhere to hold things straight and square and tight against it while the glue dried. On the front end. So it's going to be pretty good size ship there when we get done, but that's going to be a while. My camera's hung up on the table here. So it's great to know that those parts came from Spain. It took about a week to get them, even though there's a lot of conflict going on in Europe. The package looked pretty rough, but everything was okay inside of it. But I could tell the package went through a pretty rough trip. So I'm going to sit down and take the ruler and the pencil. I'm using this long one here, and I offset my ruler to make the mark just for the thickness of the pencil lead point, so that when I do go down through there, the line is right on that seam in between each of the boards. And then we'll come back and we make a mark every other board perpendicular with these slots, and then we put the nail head marks in there. And I'm using this engineering pencil to do that. After I get the marks to separate the end of the board, I actually push this down into the spot where I want the nail to show, and I twist it 3 or 4 times without letting it move away from where it's sitting. Sit there and twist it like that, and that leaves a nice little nail head mark on the spot you want. You just got to be real precise. And it probably took me an hour to do this other board. But it came out pretty good. And I'll have to varnish this before I glue it in there. And once I go to start today, the first thing I'm going to do is take my razor knife and trim off these spots that are overhanging the edge and clean up the deck plate really nice before because we want to use them notches to get our reference of a square line perpendicular to mark these. I'll have to make sure when I go to do this one that my square line lines up with the other one before I mark it. So we got the rest of the lines done on those and varnished. And I'm using some Ace Hardware varnish. I was in Ace Hardware because I was trying to find some wood filler that had the color in it to match the last ship I was working on, the walnut. And while I was there, this is the wood putty I bought. I couldn't find what I wanted at Home Depot or Lowe's or anything. And they had this at Ace Hardware. So it's a red mahogany wood putty that matches that walnut color really good when you're filling in. So I'm using this bar varnish from Ace to do the varnish on these deck pieces. So we got them 2 done. They're going to go in here. Now I got 3 more to do. I'm looking at the plans there on the screen. And we got to do the same thing 3 more times on 3 more sections of deck plating before we can move on to the next thing. And that's why we don't glue these to them side pieces that are in there, because you got to be able to adjust the very tops of these rib framing members in order to get these plates in there. And after all this is set and glued in place, then you go back and it tells you to glue 50 freaking places. So I gotta set up on the bench and put a bunch of more 4mm by 0.5mm strips and glue them on, and then go through the tedious task of pencil lining in between them and a little pencil line every other board so they offset. So this board here goes from that beam to that beam, and then this board goes from this beam to this beam, so they're offset. But we got to do that a whole bunch more times on these 3 more deck plates. One hour after another. So what have we got done so far? 3 more deck boards. The planking on them, all the markings. I think they came out pretty good. So let's glue them on the ship. The middle one here that we had done already, I got it just sitting in there. I did have to open up some of the slots here. I had to make them a little bit deeper in order to get these two faces to line up. And when I put the planking on this one, I let the planking hang over the edge just ever so slightly so that I could get my deck boards to butt together without having to do any shaping. But I noticed when I stuck them in here, that little bit of ever so slightly was enough where the two pieces wouldn't butt together on this end and go down in the spot where they're supposed to go. So I had to open up the slots a little bit deeper on 3 of these here and 2 of these here, so I could get that to fit together. And then I just stuck a piece of mast material in there to help line it up. So just a matter of gluing them on. This one will go here. Get it to snap in and glue it on. Boss is back there digging again. He likes to dig while I'm talking. This longer one goes here. Get those ribs to line up. This one goes here, which we'll want to put in first because it sinks all the way down and then snaps into the deck beams. So we'll get that one, this one, and then this one. And then the next thing I think it wants us to do is paint the, well, after we got to glue these, all these beams we haven't glued yet, we got to glue them. And then once that glue dries, they want us to paint this with black or something dark brown. I'll have to look at the color code. I'm thinking that's for when you look through the cannon holes that you don't see the light color behind the hole. So let's get some glue and our paintbrush. Let's see if we can get these here in the middle done today, and then once that dries, we can do that painting step, and all the decks will be on the ship. So let me get all these spots glued up so you don't have to waste time watching me, and then I'll bring you back when I'm fitting it in there. I got to do the ends of the deck pieces too, so they glue to the side walls there. Okay, let's fit this baby in there. All these have to line up just right. Get that to pop down in the spot where it's supposed to go. Push it down. You can see here my hole is a little offset, and there's a space on this side and not on this side. So I'm using this mass piece to straighten that up. And then I'm going to add more glue on that end plate. And we really need to do that from underneath, I think. We want that to have a good bond to that wall there. The same with this front one here. Make sure that's down all the way. Let me take this clamp off. Get some glue down in there. We don't want to put it on our freshly marked up deck boards. And those deck boards have also got a coat of varnish on them. You can see the little bit that ran over into the parchment paper. Let me leave that clamp off. We get these other ones done here. I'm sort of making sure that it's going to fit in there, yes, because after all the cutting and the gluing of the planks and everything, I could have put, and the varnishing, I might have had some fill up these slots, and I don't want that to interfere with my final fitting of the piece here. And the back side, we're going to put some glue on that end. There. I think we got enough on there. Boy, it's digging for gold. Okay. And after we get the other two glued on, I'll put a counterweight on top of here. Get that clamp in place so it doesn't tip over. We'll put a counterweight on top to help. So I'm grabbing a little more glue, just like we did the first time. Roll some up in there. Make sure we get a good bond on that. Okay, and then the next one. This one's got a mast hole in it. I pre-fitted all these before I did the planking on them. So I know that it's going to fit, other than the fact there might be some excess glue from the planking or excess varnish that might give us a problem. And another one goes on. Got that there, that there, that there, that there. Okay. Now for the last one up here. And this is a good sense of accomplishment for this week. Today is Thursday, so I might tomorrow, no, today's Friday. Good grief. I might tomorrow, if this is dry, do some of that black paint up under there. So that's got a key back there. And there's these framing member keys. Get them all to line up. And that's why they don't want you to glue those side pieces until you get these done. Then you go back and glue them. All right. Now let's put our clamp back on. Keep this from tipping over. Get that set where it's not going to fall over. Another clamp back here. And then put some counterweights on here. This one is the one that was popping up the most. Got that down there good. Counterweight number 2. I have another one of these, but I don't know where it went. But anyway, that's a good set of progress for this week, eh? Wow. What is that? Let's measure. I'll get a tape measure here. It's probably on the box, but I just like looking at how big it is. We're 30 inches plus, so time we do rigging and bowsprit and all that, thing's gonna be big. Let's look at our next you guys can see that. And a reflection here from these lights. So that was putting all the boards on. Of course, you mark from the center and go out to the sides. And you varnish it. And I just went ahead and did all 3 of them at the same time. So I was doing glue up, went at lunch, and came back while the first one that I had done, started marking it with the pencil and trimmed it. Okay, so here, now we glue all those spots on that side rail. Whole bunch of circles there. We got to go all the way down the side pretty much. And then paint those side rails black. N1 is a code on this code sheet, and it says off black, so I want to make sure I get a flat black instead of a gloss black. Well, I'll have to check and see what I got. That'll help hide when you look through cannon holes, because there's a bunch of cannons on this. Then it looks like we got next week. Oh yeah, we want to plank down the front there at that sweeping angle. Yep, put the first one on the top, and then the WS2 is a certain size board. Go all the way down to where the bowsprit comes out. Yep. And then it's got us putting planking up under these spots here. Yep, that'll take a little while because it's on here on the ship now instead of on the bench. The planking gluing down goes quicker on the bench. But once you get up here on the ship, it slows you down a little bit. And then in the back, yep, up underneath that back plate that we did last week, sand it, make sure the first board is square, and then plank it. Yep, plank it all the way down to the very bottom where the keel starts. So if we can get all that done next week, that'll be a miracle. There's a lot of planking on the ship. So we'll try to paint tomorrow. Not only do we do the boards that we've got to glue, but we also do the sides of the main framing members. So it makes it black in there. So that's what we got to look forward to. I hope we'll get that far or not. It looks like a sanding block getting ready for you know what. Starting to do the planking on the side of the ship. Oh my gosh, that's the tough one. Those are always fun. So, we'll worry about that when we get there. We're just happy we made it this far. That's a pretty good accomplishment. I was looking the other day at some of my next sheets of parts, and man, oh man, the more I look, the worse it looks. Well, if I do get some painting done tomorrow, I'll give you a shot. But otherwise, it'll be next week before we. This afternoon, I'm going to go ahead and glue up all them spots that are still free on that sideboard, and then gotta let that dry before I paint. So if I get to it tomorrow, one of my projects I've got to do starting next week. I don't know if you can see outside there very well through this dirty window, but I'm gonna dig hydrojet my own shallow well, 25-30 feet. So I got my first few things I need to do that. I got to get some pipe to extend that digger bar. So once I get past the length of the bar, I can add another 10-foot stick of pipe on it and keep digging deeper and deeper. Then I got to get some 4 or 6 inch PVC to put in there as a well casing. And then this piece with the blue on the end of it, it's got little micro cuts in it. I don't know if you can see that there, but the micro cuts let water in, keep the sand out. That'll go down inside the well casing after I get some. I'll probably use some, that's 1 1/4 inch, so I'll probably use a piece of 2 inch, cut the end of it where it looks like teeth, and then take some water with a smaller pipe and a jet head on the end of it, and jet as deep as I can down past that casing pipe. So I want to try to make the casing go down 25, 30 feet, and then go a little bit deeper so I can make sure I'm in the water table if I get water. If I'm not, I might have to dig somewhere else. But this is going to be a little project. I might not get any work done on the ship next week. I don't know. See how that goes. I'm going to at least spend one day digging, see if I can hit water. That other piece there in the middle is a ball, or not a ball valve, but a one-way valve, so the water can't go back down in the bottom of the well. It stays up in the top part of the well pipe. So fun projects ahead. After I do hit water and get a hand pump on there, in case the end of the world comes, I'll have at least a way to go out back and fill up a bucket full of water so I can wash dishes or take a bath or whatever. I've got solar on my house, so I'll have power to keep my freezers and food good. But you never know about water, because if city power goes out, then eventually the city water is not going to be on anymore either. You have to have a way to get your own water. The store shelves will be empty. So you got to be able to depend on yourself. Projects ahead to be self-reliant. That's one of the YouTubers I watch. Self-Reliant. My Self-Reliance is the name of his channel. And he's building a cabin up in Canada. So if you're interested in watching how to be self-reliant, grow your own food, do all the things you need to do, survive without going to the grocery store, check out his channel, My Self-Reliance. Sean James. Sean James has his own 2 channels. One of them is named Sean James, where he talks, and the other one is My Self-Reliance, where he's building a log cabin. So there's a lot of people on YouTube that are into that survival. And I'm not doing it because of that. I'm doing it because I know if the city power goes out, I've got power to run my refrigerator and freezer, but I won't have any water, because the city water works off power, pumping out of the aquifer underneath Florida. So I'll have to have a way to get my own water. Thanks for watching.